everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Words of Fire podcast. I am your host, Dion Sanchez, and joining me in this episode is Scott Medlin. I don't know if we covered
Medlin. Yep.
Medlin. I am so sorry. Thank you for joining me today, Scott.
Well, thank you for having me on, Dion. I appreciate it, really.
Absolutely. So, Scott, if you could kick things off by sharing with my listeners a bit about yourself, that would be great.
Yes, I'm a law enforcement and Marine Corps veteran, and I've recently got out of active law enforcement. I still work part-time as a police officer, but during my 12-year career, I went through several mental health issues, to be quite frank. And then I found out 12 years into the career that's when I found out for the first time that more police officers were dying by suicide than actually were being killed in the line of duty. And I thought to myself, this is not right. So many of us are going through stress and we don't know how to cope with it. But then as coronavirus started and lockdown started and restrictions were put in place, I started reading how suicide in America was no joke, like it's the 10th leading cause of death in the United States. So I really felt called to act to help save lives, essentially in another form where I knew I wouldn't be able to stay in law enforcement to do what I could do to protect the public in a police officer capacity, but rather go out there and try to inspire people and tell them all the different ways they can cope, all the different things they need to be aware of when it comes to mental health. And that's what I do now. I speak to law enforcement conferences, but I also speak to local clubs. Like yesterday, I was speaking at a local Rotary club about mental health. And I do the best I can just based on the experiences I had and the research I did when I wrote my books, like the one behind me, Mental Health Fight of the Heroes in Blue. So that's what I do now.
Awesome. So I do have a question to ask. I know many people have their burgeoning opinions as far as police brutality. What are your thoughts when it comes to that as someone who's in law enforcement?
Yeah, it's one of those things where if an officer does wrong, then I am not one to say that I should take up for them in any way. If you do wrong, you mess up, you make the rest of us look bad. We don't like that. The one thing a good cop hates is a bad cop. And whenever stuff like the incident in May of 2020, where I won't even say the cop's name, who killed George Floyd, that was wrong. Now, what in my opinion, what we can run the risk of is sometimes some details need to be found out before we rush to judgment. Like sometimes things will come out a little bit prematurely, and then we find out later down the road that officers had to do what they had to do or something like that. But I would also add that the majority of police officers are out there just doing the best they can to protect the communities that they literally took an oath to protect. But every profession is going to have its bad apples, and I hate that. Law enforcement is one that cannot afford to have its bad apples, so we need to hold each other accountable, and we're held to a higher standard, which I fully agree with. And that's my initial opinion about it.
Awesome. And I do believe there are bad apples with any profession. I just wanted to get your thoughts on it because maybe cops could have different opinions in regards to that. And they might think people are crazy for thinking that. But so in regards to mental health, how do you cope with it? Or how did you struggle with it at all in law enforcement? I mean, having to put your life on the line every single day couldn't have been easy.
It was stressful, but later in my career, when I had to come out of a low spot where I had to resign from the canine unit because that was my passion, my calling, I felt so driven by that job, but unfortunately I let it become my identity, and I had to resign because I almost lost my marriage because I just got so wrapped up in the job. Anyway, I fell into like a depression after I gave that up, and I made it a point. I said, well, I'm down this low mentally. I've got to do something to come back up. And it basically was just the decision to take time in the morning for myself before I go into work, rather than just getting out of bed, eating food, grabbing my lunch, putting on the uniform, and heading out the door. So I would encourage anyone, wake up an hour or two earlier before you are obligated to be somewhere. And that way you can prime your mind, you can prime your body through good exercise, heck, even going on a walk, as long as it's not like freezing outside or rain or snow or something. But but that's what I do. I just make it a daily effort. Just show up for me, and then I can be that much better for other people.
Absolutely. So for those who do you have any advice to give those who perhaps have, and I don't know if this is, I know this is possible with Army vets, and I do recall you said you were in the Marines. I don't want to get my facts mixed up, right?
Mhm.
Um, do police,
Right.
I'm just making sure I have my facts right because I don't want to like offend anyone. Is it possible to have PTSD during police work, or is it just in the military?
No, and that is actually a common misconception where people think, well, I can't, there's no way, or they just think post-traumatic stress disorder equals military. A lot of people in the military either one don't see combat, or if they do see combat, they experience it for 6 months to a year, and it's off and on. Whereas police officers can see things that the human brain's not innately wired to see for years and re- repeatedly. I'm not trying to downplay anything anyone in the military has ever gone through. Believe me, I mean, I've seen it. I know others who have been through a heck of a lot more than I went through as a police officer. But it's just the it's just that police officers have to have that mentality for so long to survive, and then they're exposed to things that it can absolutely equal post-traumatic stress. Per the Department of Justice, 15% of police officers nationwide suffer from symptoms of post-traumatic stress disorder. Uh, and that's thousands of police officers, because like the first incident that affected me was the first successful suicide I saw, where someone had hung themselves. And I'd never seen that before. And I felt awful for that person. And I couldn't get that image out of my head. And when I thought about, and when obviously when the image came in my head, all the emotions that were there in that incident were coming along with it. And it was drowning me. But you take that incident along with many other incidents I've been through and many other incidents other police officers have been through, it can equal post-traumatic stress. And that's why I say, show up for you and your mental and physical health, and it will help combat the negative effects that you possibly could run into.
Absolutely. And if I'm not mistaken, even when you're off the clock from police work, are you really fully off? Because so many things and events could happen in an instant, from the second you get off work to when you put your head on the pillow, and then bam, the life could be crashing down around
Yeah,
us.
that is an excellent question. It's very hard to go from having to be on your guard, having to watch everybody you're out with, and their suspicious behavior or not. But you have to be aware of things, because anyone could turn bad on you in a second and try to hurt and or kill you. And it's very hard to turn that off. And that is actually something I went through therapy for, because I was developing what the psychologist called stuck points, where I would have these thoughts in my head like, nobody can be trusted. I have to be on guard at all times. And I was literally I would not give myself the chance to relax. And that's a very harmful effect. So it is a challenge. And that's when I say officers need to have friends outside of law enforcement, and then also pick places where you want to go that you know are relatively safe, and you don't have to be constantly on guard all the time. But it is a challenge. It definitely is. You have to make a conscious effort to relax.
Absolutely. And speaking of relaxing, I know we're 2 years into this pandemic, unfortunately. How have you adapted to that, with that going on?
Staying in touch with people. It's been difficult, where for about a year, nobody really, at least where I am, nobody really met up a lot. So I made it a point. I know that people are better when they're with other people who bring them good energy and good company. So I made it a point to meet up with people. I mean, we just used common sense, and
Yeah,
we knew we were low risk, so it is what it is. So we met up, and I stayed in touch with people. But I also, when it comes to relaxing, I would also, particularly in the morning, uh, read my Bible, read something constructive for my mind, not scroll social media, at least for the first hour. Do my best not to get on the phone and get distracted by that.
awesome. And at least for me, I definitely miss socialization. So it was pretty hard for me, but I couldn't really hate 2020 as much as everybody wanted to hate 2020, which I'm sure they did, and I completely respect them for that. But for me, I couldn't hate it. It was literally impossible for me to hate it because I ended up being diagnosed with diabetes at the start of the pandemic, which would be January 2020, when, from my own perspectives, when it truly got worse. So I couldn't really hate
Right.
2020 because I had a chance to live my life. Because
Yeah.
in an instant it could have been literally over. Like, that's not for dramatic effect. I was basically a skeleton and could have turned into ash at any given moment before I got diagnosed. So
Wow.
it's a real blessing that I was able to see 2020.
Hmm.
It unfortunately just happened to be during a pandemic. But as far as the socialization factor, I was not happy when, well, for me over here in Florida, which is where I live, everything really got shut down in March. I think that's the case for everywhere else. I know Florida at least was shut down in March.
Yeah, we
Um,
were. Yeah.
oh, I forgot you're like from here. But it was hard because growing up, I definitely struggled with my own mental health because, just give you a little insight to me even further, I couldn't hear or talk for the first 2 years of my life. So that brought its on. I was automatically considered different before even saying a word. So I struggled with that and gaining acceptance. And once I got that socialization that I prayed for my whole entire life, it really wasn't until I got ready to go into high school, really, that I had friends. So it was from 3 years old to like 13, 12, basically a whole lifespan trying to get that acceptance from my peers. So to be in my adulthood and I was adjusting to being diabetic. It was a new change. I didn't talk to anybody about it. I basically social distance before that was even a thing here
Right.
for 2 months. I didn't say anything. I didn't spoke about it. It was just a lot for me to process because this was a part of my life now. But in March, I was ready to, be social, be myself again. And then I went out once. The second week, everything got shut down. So I'm like,
Dang.
oh, I need to socialize. I need to remember that I'm still me, that just because I have diabetes doesn't mean I'm not me. So how can I socialize if I can't do that? So luckily through Zoom, which was an absolute blessing, I still had that socialization. It didn't have to resort to old patterns as I would have when I was younger, feeling like I was alone and rejected, invisible, and considering probably the worst thing a kid could think of, and that is suicide. That was something I considered when I was younger, unfortunately. But luckily through Zoom, that sort of saved me in a way, in a small way, because socialization is highly important. I did
Yes.
kind of socialize within my peers like several months later because I'm vaccinated and all that stuff. Because unlike you, I am sort of high risk because of my immune system and being diabetic. But socialization is very important, and I truly pray for all those who are still struggling with this normal that we get back to a normal we're comfortable with very, very soon.
Yeah, me too. Me too. But you're right. Socialization is important. And considering all you just told me, I'm very glad to be talking to you right now. uh, you've overcome a lot, and I'm sure that's made you stronger.
Thank you. So on to my favorite part, and that's the icebreaker segment. I feel like the icebreaker question.
Outstanding.
Thank you. The icebreaker question you're already nailed because you're an author, so it should be really easy for you.
Oh,
So if you had to come up with a title for where your life is at this precise moment, what would it be?
a title for my life right now. Um, have a good base. Keep your eyes forward. Keep your hands up, and and move forward. That's a long title.
It's a long time. I think that's the longest title I've heard.
Yeah, sorry, that was a sentence. That wasn't a title.
Maybe just keep moving forward. I guess I don't know how to shorten that, but okay. Do you mind elaborating, even though that was a really long sentence slash title?
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna shorten it to this. The title would be "Have a Good Base."
Have a good day. Okay, okay. Just in general in your life, just have a good base, basically.
Yes.
Okay, I'm not trying to make it complicated.
No, you're not at all. I trained jujitsu for a long time and I just got back into it. And there's always a saying, keep a solid base so you don't get swept, you don't get thrown, you don't get,
Okay.
and therefore it's the same thing with life. Keep a good base so when things come your way, you're ready for them. I'm not saying they're not going to hurt, not saying it's not going to make you upset, not saying it's going to be easy, but at least you have a good base and you can stand up to it and rise up above it.
Absolutely. I love after you explain that. I did do I did do Tai Chi when I was younger once. I wish I would have kept up with it because it was pretty cool. But
Oh yeah, and that can help. That you talk about something that can help you relax. Yeah, when I exercise the patience to do Tai Chi, I'll be the first to admit it. I don't care. I'm not some tough guy. I loved it. It was just like, wow, I'm actually calm.
absolutely. So my title, it shouldn't really come to a surprise because I basically shared the explanation in 5 seconds, literally a second ago. And that's basically being a warrior for change. I've gone through a lot in my life. First, I couldn't hear or talk, then I did learn to talk, and I was just struggling with that throughout my whole life pretty much. And then everything was at peace or somewhat normal. Then bam, I got sick and could have died. And then I got diagnosed with diabetes. Then the pandemic was also part of that factor as well. So I've faced and overcome a lot in my life. So I feel a warrior is really symbiotic to my life
Absolutely.
journey and in a way really to my podcast because now I'm helping others amplify their voice in a world that may silence them because I'm familiar with the concept of being silent and people not seeing you,
Hmm.
just looking through you, not really getting to know you. So I feel like a warrior for change really signifies who I am and where I'm going to be moving forward. So
That's amazing, and the fact that you're doing that, someone who is maybe suffering in silence or feels like they're alone, your story alone, or your story, the power of your story can help other people. I always like to tell people that, like, someone can benefit from hearing from what you went through to how you overcame it, because you can inspire them, you can help them. Just because we go through bad things doesn't mean it has to end bad necessarily. So that's great. You're doing it. Warrior for change. That's good. I always love that phrase. I'll take the way of the warrior. I mean, if you could take the easier route or you could take the warrior route, that's great.
absolutely. So on to the icebreaker game, which is lots of fun. I love it 'cause it makes me laugh. So how it works is it's called song association. You don't have to be an avid singer. You can be a karaoke singer, a yodeler. Although I don't understand how you could yodel any of these words. I'm still waiting for someone to let me know if you can yodel any of these words. But until then, here's how it works. I give you a word. You can either sing it, rap it, yodel it. It could either be in the song title or in the lyrics. It has to be an actual song. You cannot make it up. Many people have tried to change up this game, which is lots of fun, but that's not how it works. So it has to be an actual song, and it can't be the
Okay.
name of an artist, not Popcorn Hill or Jefferson Franklin, or although I'm sure that's a president somewhere. But anyhow, it has to be an actual song. However, and I know you mentioned this earlier, so I'm chuckling. So you don't have the luxury of time when it comes to this game.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
You have 15 seconds from the time I give you the word to
Okay.
sing it, rap it, yodel it in the lyrics or in the title. Um,
Okay. All right. Gotcha.
not complicated words, so you don't have to worry. Although some people have been stumped, at least on the second word. So, all right. So the first word is heart.
You just want me to sing the word heart to a song, or
Yes.
okay,
Although I don't think you have much time left now.
probably not. So just sing the word. That's it.
Yeah, I mean, you can do it even though your time's up now.
No, that's fine. All right. All right. Heart, 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 heart. heart, 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 heart.
That's not, I know what you're doing with the thing. That's staying alive, I'm pretty sure.
Yep.
That's not, I see what you did there.
I don't know why Staying Alive came into my head. I haven't heard that song in probably a year.
That was a good try. But I know, I'm sure Heart's in there somewhere, but it's not in that part you just did.
Oh, I get what you're saying. So the song has to have the word in it.
Yes.
I thought you meant just sing the word. I'm sorry.
So the next word, the next word
You have to dumb it down for me.
I guess I could have, although I thought I explained it pretty well.
You probably did. It was me.
So the next word is word.
I'm out. Wow. There's probably so many songs with the word in it, but
I told you probably some, because some people do get stuck on a word that is that simple. Why can I stop it? Okay. Some answer people have given is the song More Than Words by the band Extreme. So there's that. And I think there was another song. Bird, 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 bird is the word.
that's
Something.
yeah. Wow. Why did I not think of that one?
So so the Scott,
I'm killing you, aren't
you
I?
haven't even sung anything except for Staying Alive, which you made your own version of that.
I did.
So the last word, maybe I should give you another word to make up for
Yeah,
it.
redemption.
So the last word is believe.
Oh, the Newsboys. We believe in God the Father. We believe in Jesus Christ. But I can't sing. I can't keep singing it because it's by Michael Tate, and I'm insulting him with trying to sing his lyrics.
Well, at least you sung one word. I feel like I
Yeah,
need to give you another one. I never give a fourth
sure.
word.
I'm up for a challenge. Let's go.
Um, uh, I think of another word. A word. I'm trying to think of a word I haven't done, but I can't think of any. I'll just go with a word I've done before. Hopefully you can do this one. So the bonus word, maybe I'll just start with that, a bonus word. So your bonus word is faith.
Faith.
Yes,
Oh, okay.
you can do it.
No, I can't. Shoot. 15 seconds. Oh, dang it.
Oh, Scott. Maybe you should have channeled Michael Scott, like from The Office, for this game.
Long live The Office. Gosh, I missed that show.
That's a good show. And it helps give a chuckle. Well,
Absolutely.
thank you. I'm really surprised. You only did like one, or
It's fine.
it's all good though. It's all for laughs anyhow. So
Yep.
thank you for partaking in that fun little game. We can talk about The Office and probably other words of songs that you don't know in 15 seconds. I think that's where the problem lies, is the 15 seconds part, but that's what makes it so much fun. But we're at the end of this singing conversation road that we have entered. We're at the end of it. Scott, do you have any links to share with my audience where people can find your book? Do you want to plop your book in front of the screen so everyone can see it?
Yeah, sure. This was my first one I wrote, Mental Health Fight of the Heroes in Blue, but it basically goes into how the brain reacts to traumatic incidents where someone could not even be in law enforcement. They could maybe lose a family member unexpectedly, or be injured unexpectedly, or be in a car crash or something like that. I mean, your brain's going to react the same way. We're all human, so we all have the same kind of brain, and it talks about how we're affected, signs and symptoms to be aware of, something's bothering you, and there's symptoms of depression or anxiety, but then it goes into solutions as well as to how you can reclaim your mental health as best you can. And I'm definitely encouraging people, if you need to, seek professional assistance. It's just there for assistance. You ultimately have the strength to move on from an incident. And yeah, I have a YouTube channel, the 10 Code Mindset YouTube channel. We just went over 2,000 subscribers. I'm pretty happy about that, because I mean, not many people look up cops and mental health on YouTube, so it's doing all right in my opinion. And if my website is thescottmedlin.com, and you can get in touch with me through the website. I look forward to speaking. I'll be traveling to the great state of Maine next week to speak to a big conference up there. I'm looking forward to it. And get some lobster as well. So anyway, that's it. The 10 Code Mindset, and my books are on Amazon and thescottmedlin.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining me and sharing such a wonderful perspective in regards to how mental health can affect law enforcement. You guys do a lot for us, and I think people don't really put that into their minds. They think of more of the negative ramifications, if I'm being honest, but I truly respect you and admire you for what you do. I love law enforcement, what they do, and just thank you so much for sharing your light on my podcast.
I appreciate that, Dion. I really do. To anyone who's on the fence about law enforcement, I always encourage you, if you can, go to a citizens police academy where the police officers actually talk to the citizens about what they do, or go on a ride along on a Friday or Saturday night if possible, when they're very busy and there won't be anything, it won't be shy of any activity, and maybe that can change your perspective. But believe me, if an officer's wrong and they do something wrong, they need to be held accountable for it. That I am completely on board with. And yeah, so I just had to mention that.
No, thank you. Truly, I think it's important that people open their eyes and their minds when it comes to people who are serving our community and not be so closed off, because we're all here to help each other. And I think it's important to stay open in that respect.
Absolutely. And honest conversations can go a long way. So absolutely.
Awesome. So to all my listeners, thank you for joining us in this latest episode of the Words of Heart podcast. If you enjoyed it, if you chuckled, if you want Scott to do more songs that he can mess up on, here are the ways to do so on the following platforms. You can find us on Facebook at the Words of Heart podcast. We're also on YouTube and wherever you listen to your podcast, Apple, Spotify, and Google. Don't hesitate to leave a review, a rating. There, you can do so on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. If you're listening to it from the moon, I say this in every episode. If you're listening to it from the moon, let me know. I come in peace. I do want intergalactic broadcasting to be in the universe already, because it's 2022. 2022, that was a couple of days ago, so anything is possible. But until then, thank you for joining me, Scott Medlin. Again, stay healthy, stay safe. If you want to get in touch with me, you can do so on Twitter at HeartWarrior24 and on Instagram at HeartWarrior25. So stay healthy, stay beautiful. Please put your mental health into consideration in all aspects. I really hope you guys are doing whatever it takes to put yourself first and getting the necessary help that is needed. Getting help is not a weakness, it is a strength, in my personal opinion. So do everything you can. But until then, from all of us here, stay healthy, stay safe. Until next time. Bye.